Right, easy people. Got a couple technical issues. I was trying to like set my kind of like system up so the audio goes straight into the phone, but it's kind of just giving me grief. But whatever, just gonna keep moving on. So if the levels and stuff seem like they're distorting or whatever, then just give me a shout, right? So I'm just going to begin by playing a couple of minutes of the tune that I made called It's Just a Rinse. It's released on Program London, and Program actually, and you can check it out on Bandcamp and Spotify and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, and I was just going to run through about like how I made the track and that kind of stuff. So I'll just play this for a couple of minutes and then get into more interesting detail in that. Yeah, if there's any issues with like distortion and stuff like that, please give me a shout. Yeah, so I mean, like the meat and bones of the track is really kind of like to do with the break and the bass line, to be fair. And it originally started off on this little kind of like lo-fi sampler that I've got called an SP505. Let me just switch to it just a sec. You guys probably can't see this that well, so I'll just adjust the camera thing a little bit. Right, and this here is the SP505, and it basically just kind of, I started off by sampling a break, and then originally I thought I'd sampled it into this machine at like about 160, 170 BPM, but I think I actually slowed it down a little bit and then sampled it in. And then I basically chopped it up on the sampler, so you got like this. And it's not really a complicated chop, but I don't really go into detail. The sampler it automatically, it will just chop stuff up and that kind of stuff. So I was quite happy with what was on here, so I just went with that. And this is like the original sort of like sequence for it, which sounds a bit horrible, but so that's just the break itself, yeah. And that's just actually I forgot. Yeah, got there in the end. Sorry about that, but yeah, that's pretty much how I kind of like re-edited the pattern of the break. You probably can't see it here, but on the display, it's that break was kind of like played at 132 BPM. But what I will have done is that when I recorded the break into this machine, I will have done it slightly higher or slightly lower. Because what happens is when you chop like the break into chunks, like you get like little kind of you get sort of like certain shuffles when you kind of like play it back but at a different speed. So that was the sort of like technique that I use in this, and I tend to do it a little bit here and there when I'm like sort of like doing stuff with breaks and that, which is why sometimes it can sound really sort of shuffly, but that's the kind of sound I like. Let me just go for the other sounds that are on here. So this is the sort of like the bass sound, and the bass sound I think is just a standard, I don't know, it's an 808 type sound that's on this sampler. It's just pre-built in. I can't remember whether it's the kick or whether it's like a sort of tom kind of sound or whatever they call it, but it's some sort of 808 kind of sound that was part of this kit, and I just kind of like laid it out across here. And then there's this, which will come up in a sec, which is the pad. The pad was just like a one note thing that I sampled off a record, and then I just sort of like had it pitch shifted across this sort of like drum pad slash keyboard. And then there's that kind of like sound. Yeah, that sort of like three note thing, and basically that, to be fair, that is the whole kind of like essence of the track. And what I did was sort of like just sort of like did all these bits, and then I just recorded them one by one into my laptop. But there's a couple of things I wanted to go through before I sort of like head over to the laptop. The first thing that I wanted to go through was a bit about the break, which when you play it at 132 BPM sounds like this. But then what I'll do is I'll play it at a different BPM, and then you'll be able to hear like how it can sort of like change the sort of feel of the break. So just give me a sec. So you can hear it's got like a totally different groove. You've got that sort of like little hi-hat thing kind of going a little bit sort of, I don't know, man, but sort of like going a bit shuffly towards the end, gives it a totally different feel. And I'll just go through a few other BPMs just so you get a bit of a better view of it. Yeah, so you can hear that the sort of like the faster you go, the more sort of rigid it sounds. And I sort of like liked 132. So yeah, that's what I went with. All right, so just give me a sec. I'm going to switch over to the laptop without trying to like break stuff and whatever. Oh, and just quickly, like you can see there, I put that that picture there. It's just a ride. That's basically I kind of like named the tune off of that. It's just a rinse. I just replaced the ride with a rinse, and this is actually something from Imbue that I got like a really long time ago, and I guess the way I've seen it is like that's what life is about, and it's just a ride. And I guess that's the way I was feeling when I sort of like made this. So yeah, so basically, right, I recorded the bits, those sounds individually into this into my laptop, and I was using Ableton. I use a 16-track version of Ableton because I find that it has everything that I need to do, and I'm not really interested in all the other kind of stuff. So I'll start off with the drums, right, and let me just turn it up a little bit more. Yeah, so what I did with the drums, there's a couple of things to bear in note, right, is that the SP505 sampler, its audio isn't CD quality. It's not, I mean, if that even means anything to anyone. It doesn't play at like 44.1 kilohertz. It downgrades the sample to like 33 point something or whatever. So when I'm recording that break into the laptop, it's not the sort of like, it hasn't got that like high fidelity sort of quality to it. But I quite like that. I mean, most of my stuff is like pretty lo-fi anyway. But what I did was like I did two bits of the break, just sort of like the way I processed it. So one's just I didn't do anything to it. You can see here there's nothing going on, and then there's another bit here where I can't even hear what I've done. Well, I can't hear it. Oh, just because I'm not playing anything. Yeah, I don't know why I did this. Actually, right, I just cut the trebles out and gave it a bit more kind of like beef in the low end. I guess at the time, I just sort of felt like it just needed a little bit more, like a bit of a boost in the low end. So that's the way I did it. Right now, if I was to kind of like do this track again, I wouldn't have it spread over two. I would have like just used this thing here, the effect rack, and just slapped it on the one and done it that way. But I wasn't aware of that kind of stuff at the time of making this tune. So this is just like the initial sort of like sketch that I did. And then what's the other stuff that I got? This is the bass sound, which you probably can't hear because it's not going to pick up on the phone. But I basically just sort of like played it back, as you can see here. And I just took the high end out of it a little bit using the EQ. And then there's this other EQ that I've been using a lot, Rawtrachs, which is a free EQ, and it was recommended to me by Human Synthetics. Big up Alex if you're listening. And as you can see here, like I don't really like know too much about what I was doing with the EQ because I've just like boosted everything a little bit. But I thought for some reason the EQ just sounds really nice. At least that's what I did at this kind of like version of the track. This thing here. Right, okay. So let me just take these effects off it. So that's the sound that I originally sampled from the SP, yeah. And I stuck this arpeggiator thing on it to make it sound like this. So it was like that. And then I just stuck in like a little bit of an effect. And then this sort of filter thing. Which I quite liked. And then yeah, I did some weird shit with the EQ. I'm not even sure why I did half this stuff. I'll have done that like a low cut just to get rid of the low end from stuff that's happening. And for whatever reason, I took some of the high end out of it as well. This one, let's see what it sounds like without it. Yeah, there is quite a lot of low end on that actually. It's quite nice, but not ideal when you've got other sort of like low end frequencies going on. This one might be I think I've done pretty much the same thing. Yeah, did a similar thing, but it's focusing more on the sort of like high end side of things. Then what's this? Oh yeah, that was the original sample from the SP, but I don't think I did anything with that. I would have just stuck it there as a reference thing. Yeah, and then that was the sort of pad. So that was like the first sort of sketch of it. So I'll flick over right to the next one. Which was that. By the way, if there's any like issues with levels and distortion and stuff like that, please let me know, because I haven't got the sort of like normal setup stuff that I do. One thing I actually forgot to mention right before I carry on was that one of the reasons why I sort of like started this track was because of this tune here by J Dilla, which I'll play now, but let me keep the volume down first. I'll just play it for a minute. But yeah, this isn't actually the original Jay Dilla track. This is just like a version that someone did on YouTube to make it last like 20 minutes because it's so good. But yeah, I mean, like that Jay Dilla track, and just I suppose like the way that Jay Dilla did stuff, it was just really inspiring. And I think I remember like watching a little thing on YouTube about him, and I was just like, you know what, I just want to just get the SP box set and just start playing around with some music. So yeah, but anyway, let me carry on. Right, so this is the next version. I'm not even sure what I've done with this much yet. Let's have a quick listen. Not from there. Right, so processing sounds the same on the break. Bass is all exactly the same. Do I do anything with this? Right, now here, right, is where I went a little bit in on the main melody of the track. Like you can see here that the track is about sort of like 10-12 minutes long. Well, you probably can't see it actually, but the track originally was like sort of 10-12 minutes long, and I just recorded myself messing about with the filters on this. And basically, yeah, kind of like did that, and everything else there wasn't any kind of change in it, but I really liked that sort of sound. It felt really like acid-like to me. So that was like the next kind of like, I suppose, the next element of the track that I wanted to sort of like work on. So let me flick it over. I'll tell you what, I'm going to be so gutted that I'm talking, and if this hasn't recorded properly, or if it's trashed up. But anyway, what was the next thing that I did? I think that might still be the same. Yeah, so the track was still, I didn't like edit the track down or anything. I left all that automation stuff in. What's this? Yeah, that's just the pad, which I didn't do anything with. And then there's this bit here, which I'm not sure what it is. Right. Okay, so that's the sort of like vocal that I used in the track, right? And the second bit of it here that you can hear, that is that's from an Underground Resistance record. And the thing is, I've just got like a lot of respect for Underground Resistance and totally love what they do, and because of that, I didn't want to like rip off the sort of like the version, well, you know, their original. So instead, what I thought I'd do is like just get my daughters to just say it on a microphone. I don't know. I did do like further processing with it, but I think at this stage it was really minimal. I just messed with the volume. I don't even think I've messed with the pitch on it. Yeah, it doesn't look like I messed with the pitch on it. I can't remember what I did, but I'll find out later. But that was pretty much how that Find Your Strength in the Sound bit of it came in. And then at the beginning of the track, there's that sort of time stretch break. And I didn't do that using I didn't do it using Ableton. I did it using something called Accuser, which I think a lot of people have been like using, because it's got like a time stretch that's very close to like those early Akai samplers. And I haven't got it on this laptop because it won't work on here. But that's basically just like the time stretch break. I think originally I had a different melody as well. Yeah, and I mean, I don't use that melody at all in the final version of the track. I probably just got, I quite like it, but I just had to like just chuck it out. And then there's this, which is just sort of like a 808 sort of style little ping sort of sound. And then I think that was it pretty much. I didn't do anything else with it, so I introduced a few more elements and did some like automation on the filter thing on one of the sounds. Let me bring the next thing up. It's 4B, 4C. I don't know if other people work in a similar way with creating different versions of the track, but I'm a bit I have to do it because otherwise I'll just like lose track of stuff. Right, let's see what's happening here now. Yeah, so now it's starting to sound a lot more like the release version of the track. So I've started to like do like a bit of a simple arrangement, like with the intro and like dropping bits out, like you can see here. And that kind of stuff. Done a few little. So let me just see if there's anything that I did on the break. I think overall I've just done a little bit more extra EQ, like really minimal stuff. I think I took the high end out a little bit more and just did like a little tiny boost. To be fair, I'm not sure if it even does much, but I just chucked it in because I felt like it did something, do you know what I mean? Bass wise, still not really done anything with that. That's the same as it was. With the main sort of like acidy, filtery melody, didn't do anything with that either. But yeah, just got this like loose arrangement at the minute. And I've sort of like trimmed it down to like sort of like 5 minutes 40. I think I've added this bit here, I can see, which is just sort of like a 808 sort of thing that I did from a previous track, and I just chucked it in. Ah, right, okay, now. Right, okay, so this is a new thing that I added. I like, with breaks, I do like kind of like messing about with the filters and stuff on the break. And the reason for that is because of this track here. I'll play you a little bit of it, or maybe just over a minute I'll play. It's a track by Goldie from an album called Saturn's Return, which we got slated for, but it's actually one of my favourite albums did. The track's called Death of a Rock Star, and it's just amazing, and I better turn the volume down. But yeah, like I think the sort of that whole idea with filtering the break, I think Goldie and like whatever engineer he was using at the time, I really loved the way they would like do their own sort of like twist on breaks using like filters and compression and all that kind of stuff. And you know, they obviously weren't the only people, there was other people, but the way that it's done on this track is just mind-blowing. I'll forward it up a little bit so you actually get to the break. It's not coming yet. Yeah, so we'll just heard it there. Thanks for playback. like he's sort of like used a sort of chorus or flanger and that kind of stuff, and that's totally the kind of like vibe that I'm into as well. And so I did a similar thing, stuck on a flanger, did this thing with the filter, but did it kind of like sparingly. So that's that. Let me move on to the next version of the track. If anyone's got any questions, then feel free to just like post stuff in here. I've kind of got the phone sideways, so I'll try and read it sideways. Or feel free to like post it in the comments when it comes onto my Instagram feed. All right, cool. Let's see what's happening with this now. Yeah, so I've stuck in like a different sort of sample here. I think the arrangement still looks like pretty similar, but I think I've added a couple of other bits. Don't know what they are. Okay. So I've used these like little sort of sound effects a little bit more throughout the track. And to be fair, I think one of the things about this track was I did it pretty differently to other stuff that I've worked on previously. When I did this, I wasn't really thinking of like, oh, you know, like verse chorus or whatever it is, and then having like a bridge and all that kind of stuff. I really just kind of like just went with the vibe of it, and it was kind of like made more of a sort of like DJ tool and that sort of thing, really. But let me just see if I did anything else with the break. Yeah, I didn't do anything else with the break. I did do stuff with the bass, but it's not on this version of the track yet. So yeah, I think with this version, I just kind of like just did a little bit more stuff, as in like dropping in little sound effects and that kind of thing. Yeah. Then what else? Don't know what's happening here. This is like a little sort of trademark sound that I use in my track. And I think this is where the vocal bit comes in. Right, okay, let me just get back to that, because I've noticed that sounds different to the versions that I played. Right, okay. Yeah, I can see it. So I stuck this like vocal fun glitchy thing in. Without it sounds like this. And then with it, just glitches it up a little bit more. Okay, I feel like oh yeah, and I stuck this Borg thing in, which is why it sounds a little bit more like the vocals pitched down. So that's what I did with that bit. I don't think there's anything else to sort of like highlight on it, really. Let me just check this bit. Oh yeah, just throwing in more little sort of effect samples to just kind of help to carry the track along. Let me bring up the next one. So get in there slowly. What's that, 4D? This one's 4E, flipping out, right. And then now you can see it's starting to take a little bit more structure. With the bass, I did a few more things on it. I did sort of like 3 kind of like things to it. There's the main bit, which I think is just the sort of like low end bit of it, which you probably can't hear very well. The thing is, I have this issue with bass, right, where sometimes I feel like the frequency is too low and it just doesn't, you can't like hear it, but you might be able to feel it, but you just can't hear it. And I'm really guilty of like just turning the bass up, but that's not always the right thing to do. And so I've started to kind of like try and introduce sort of like other frequencies of the bass to like what's it called, to just, I suppose, give it a bit more kind of like presence. It's almost like, I think with bass it's almost like a sort of like a ghost or something in a way where you you might feel it's there but you can't actually see it, and I think that's something I struggle with, which is why you might not be able to hear it, but it's a bit more grungier. What have I done with it? I've stuck on this sort of bit reduction, and yeah, just like chucked in like all these little sort of like saturation type effects, which I use quite a lot. And then this one's got a little bit more high end on it. Feels a bit reverby, but and then in total it's like the thing is like when you actually play the track, you can't hear any of the grungy side of it at all. But then you'll hear it like in a bit like in this bit like here where the beats are off it. Actually, you can't even hear it there actually. But I think you probably notice it more towards the end of the track, like here, because I don't think there's any pads and stuff like that playing. It sounds a little bit more kind of guitar-like, which I quite like. So what else to do? The break at the start, that's time straight, no change to that. That was the little thing with the break, that's the same. These were the pads. And then which there was no change to, I just chopped out the low end, and then there was this sort of that sort of like filtery kind of like acidy kind of sound that I had going on. What I've done now at this point is I've just kind of consolidated it as like one WAV file, because my sort of laptop ain't really high spec, and it just starts to get really hot and stuff if I'm doing too much. So I did this, I just kind of like turned it into a WAV and then just slapped it on. And then because I'm using like a 16 track version of Ableton, I have to be like really careful with how I use the channels and don't want to like run out. So with all the effect sounds, I create a drum rack and I just chuck them all in there. So with this version, I just kind of like just tidied it up a little bit more and then just messed with the bass a bit more. And then let me bring in the next one after this. So it's getting there slowly. I mean, it's just little kind of like fine tunings that I've done here and there. This is all the same. Right, okay, so one thing I noticed here, which is what I think the main thing is with this version, is let me just get to the main sort of bit of it. I've created two versions of it now, of that of that sort of like melody. So with this main one here, I just added this like mid-range fattener, which is like a sort of bit of saturation. Again, I'm not even sure why I did it. I did it because it just sounded a lot rougher, and I really like that kind of sound. And then this bit is basically, did I do it? Yeah, it's just the same sound, but I wasn't really used to using this audio effect tool, because what I could have done was just had the one sort of channel and just slap this audio effects thing on it, and you know, split out like the different sort of like processing and stuff that I wanted to do, but I wasn't aware of it at the time. So which is why I've got like two copies of the same channel, and in one it's just the original at a low volume, and then the next one is just pretty much the same but got this like mid-range fattener on it. That's the only difference. And I don't think there's anything else that I did with this. I think the arrangement's still pretty much the same. So let me just open up the next one. So at this point I was getting really close to kind of finishing it off, but there was one thing which I'll get to in a bit. Right, okay, so you can see here, yeah, I've I've used this transient thing. I don't actually use it anymore in tracks because I feel like I can do it myself using a compressor. I don't know why I brought this like plugin, and I think because I brought it, I just slapped it on every single channel. Pretty dumb thing to do, but it's what I did. I don't even think it makes much difference, if I'm honest. I'll have a little play around and see what it's like. It does do a little thing. I'm not sure it has much impact overall on the track, but it is what it is. I mean, you can see here I even chucked it on the sort of like bass part of it. Pretty dumb thing to do. I don't think I'd do that now. I don't think it needed it, to be fair. I think that was the main thing that I did. Yeah, so I think in this version I just slapped this transient thing on everything. I mean, see, I don't know if it even made a difference on this. No, I can't hear anything audible, but I guess at the time it felt like a really big thing. So getting there slowly. What's this full G? What then full H is the last version that I did before I sent it off. Right, okay, so I don't think I did any other sort of like changes regarding arrangement, but what I did do was I kind of like duplicated this flow thing like God knows how many times and just done stuff to it. So let's have a quick listen to see what it actually was. So there's this, I don't know what I've done here, just chucked on some compressor. I can see I've done some like side chain thing. What have we done that against? Yeah, I'm not even sure what I've done that. I mean, this stuff is probably like barely audible, but you know what? I know why I've done it, because there's this sound that I can hear. Let me just turn it up a bit more. It sounds really crispy, and I really like that on the high end, and I really like the sound of it, even though it's not really that audible. Didn't really do much with that one. And then yeah, the others are just the same as what they were in the previous versions. But to be fair, you know, doing these things probably didn't make much difference in terms of what the end result was and what you hear, but I think to me it just made a difference while I was doing it at the time. So at this point I was happy with the track and everything, and I think I entered it into a competition which I didn't win. And then I just sort of like parked it on the side and didn't really do anything with it. I might have sent it to a couple of friends just to get feedback from them. And then I got in touch with the program gang. Shouts to all of you guys. And because Gav, who's one of the DJs from them, he'd played a track of mine in a mix that he'd done. And they got in touch with me as a result of that, basically. And I'd sent them like a batch of tunes. I don't think I sent this one though. I sent them some other stuff, and there was a couple they were interested in. And then I think I just sort of like remembered that I'd done this tune or something like that, and then I flinged it over to them, and then they were like, "Oh yeah, we'd like to do something with this one," but a couple of changes, and I can't actually remember what the changes were. I remember, right, one of the things that I remember is that I think they felt like with some of the delay sort of effects, like what I'd put here, not there, I can't see it properly, but some of the sort of like 808 kind of delay sounds, like that, I think they felt like it was just really minimal little touches, like they felt that it could like last a little bit longer or maybe be a bit prominent. And it was just another couple of, it was just like, is there anything else that you can do to, I think it was just sort of like, just make it kind of it just enhanced the track and stuff like that basically, and they suggested a couple of things. And it can always be like really difficult going back on a track as an artist when someone's giving you feedback, and I'm really fussy about it actually, but I always have that mindset of like, you know what, give it a try and see what happens. And to be fair, in this case, I feel like it was definitely the right choice, and it helped because there was like certain editing and stuff that I did with the break which I didn't do before, and I think that really helped to like lift the track up. And I think you'll hear it in here, or maybe not. Yeah, just little things like that, like reversing the break, or like here, just slapping like little kind of like a delay when the break kind of ends, stuttering the break up a little bit at the start. What else have I done here? You know, just like little things like that. They're old sort of like techniques that people used to do with like amens and stuff back in the kind of like early jungle days. And I just kind of applied it to this really, and then that was it. Then the track was done, sent it off to them. They were like really cool with it and happy with it. I did do like another like little things, like I think this bit here at the end of the track. Just little touches like that I did, and then yeah, that was pretty much it. I'm trying to think if there's anything else, but yeah, that was it pretty much. I mean, like if you compare that, like what you're hearing there, to what was originally on the drum machine, on the sampler thing, I'll just play it to you again. But yeah, that was pretty much it. So yeah, I'll leave it at that. Let me just flick this thing. Yeah, you can see me. If anyone's got any questions and stuff like that about the track or whatever, then please give me a shout. But I mean, from what you've seen, there isn't really like anything super technical going on. It was literally just bouncing off a kind of vibe, and hopefully you can kind of like hear that sort of like influence from people like Jay Dilla and Goldie and that kind of stuff. And but yeah, I'll leave it at that. If you like the tune, don't forget to check it out. I want to say like subscribe and all this kind of shit, but I just can't be asked. But you know what to do in it. If you like the music, then any kind of support that you give is much appreciated. Peace, thank you, and sending a shout out to like anyone that's supporting, and all the labels that have been like released on music. Got more coming. So yeah, love to all of you, man. Peace. How do I stop this thing?